Hello everybody, I am Thanasi. This is the Money Shift YouTube channel, and we have another episode of the Maverick Files for you. Now this one might actually be one of the most important because this is the around town MPG loop test for the Maverick Hybrid. Now in previous videos, I've talked about how the Maverick Hybrid has a lot more efficiency than the EcoBoost all-wheel drive, and here is where we can put our money where our mouth is. We're gonna do a 20-mile loop that should take us roughly an hour. We're not gonna exceed the speed limit past 5 miles an hour. I'm gonna keep this cabin at 70 degrees because remember, this is a normal driving video. I'm not gonna hypermile. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. So in fact, you can think about this sort of as like a floor for what you could potentially see for your MPG with your Maverick around town. It's around 35 degrees here today, which means it's very cold, which also is not ideal for an electric or electric assisted vehicle. And we have the HVAC on. So again, all of these things sort of add up to a scenario where it is more of a real world MPG figure. Now, obviously, your MPG may vary in either direction, but this should give you a good baseline as to what you could potentially expect if you do a lot of around town driving in your Ford Maverick. So we're gonna fill up. We're gonna do TFL rules, so at the end, we're gonna stop for 30 seconds and then fill it up again, drive our loop, come back to this exact same gas station, fill it up again, do some calculations, and let's see how she does. All right, let's get driving.
All right, folks, you know the drill. We got to reset that trip, and then we can be on our way in this around town MPG.
Friends, money shifters, it's that time of the video. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you appreciate this type of content. All right, back to the MPG test.
42 miles to the gallon. That is the number that the EPA rates the Maverick Hybrid. Now, before we really get too in-depth into this video, I want to just benchmark that against 3 other vehicles so folks can sort of understand where the Maverick Hybrid lies, because I think oftentimes we see that 42 MPG city number and we either are really impressed or we're not impressed at all. So let me tell you why you should be impressed. So the first car that we're going to talk about is the Toyota Prius. Now this car is a dedicated hybrid vehicle. In fact, it's the Mac Daddy, one of the founders, the vehicle that really popularized the notion of the hybrid car. Now that gets an EPA estimated rating of 58. So I want Maverick Hybrid owners or people that are interested in the Maverick Hybrid to sort of check themselves a bit, because while this is a pickup truck and not a dedicated hybrid vehicle in aerodynamic design and all of that like the Prius was, it's about 16 MPG rated worse than the Prius. Now, number 2, and more closely associated with the Maverick, is the lineup of hybrid SUVs from Toyota. I'm talking about the RAV4 and I'm talking about the Venza. Both of these cars leverage a similar sort of hybrid nature to this vehicle that we're driving today, and oddly enough, they have the exact same EPA rating in the city of 42. Now, the last vehicle that I want to touch on is a vehicle that Ford likes to benchmark a lot when they talk about the Maverick. That is the Honda Civic, because you know, at under $20,000 base, or in this fully loaded hybrid example for right around 32, your price really does mirror something like a Honda Civic. And oddly enough, that vehicle gets the exact opposite MPG rating. What do I mean by that? The Ford Maverick Hybrid gets an estimated 42 MPG in the city, 33 on the highway. The Civic, 33 in the city, 42 on the highway. Something to keep in mind as you're potentially considering one of these vehicles, or you're just used car shopping, is your sort of driving habits really do play into the vehicle that you should consider. So 42 is the target. That is what we are going to be shooting for over this 20-mile loop. Now, this 20-mile loop doesn't really exceed speeds over 45 miles an hour, and there is a lot of city driving, and as you can see, it is very cold out. We're talking about 32, 33 degrees. Folks are clearing snow. We're going to be doing city streets. We're going to be doing longer city drives. And we're really just going to be showcasing what it would be like to commute in a Maverick Hybrid in an around town sort of city portion. Now, let's level set and remind folks that the steps that we're taking to make this a sort of real world drive. Number one, we're not going to be going over 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. What that means is if the posted speed limit is 20, my speed will not exceed 25. Now, folks, you might go faster, you might go slower, but I think 5 miles per hour, especially around town, is a more realistic driving style that more folks that are watching this will take benefit from in terms of something that more closely emulates what they do. Number 2, the HVAC is on. Again, it's 30 degrees, okay? It's 32 degrees. So I'm going to want it nice and toasty in here, and it is, okay? This is meant, again, to simulate folks that are on their drive to work in the winter. They're going to have the heat on. It's not like they're going to have it off to maximize efficiency, and I'm doing the same. The heated seat is also on here. It's on its 1 setting, or its lowest setting. So these are all the steps that I took in order to try to replicate what a real world scenario for the Ford Maverick Hybrid is. And now, again, I want to stress, this is likely one of the worst MPG ratings you could potentially expect out of the Maverick Hybrid. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is a few things. One, we're not really leveraging the EV coach system to improve our MPG. Now, for folks that don't know what the EV coach system is, on that screen in front of you where we're going to do a quick check-in to the MPGs that we're seeing, you can display this EV coach system. Wow, 60. That is a high number. We'll see if that holds over the course of this drive. But anyway, that same screen has a functionality called EV Coach. And what that does is it shows you how much throttle you can input and maintain full electric mode before the gas engine has to power in. And that brings me to a point where you can drive this car almost purely in electric mode with relative ease. If you are not, slamming on the throttle or ramming on the brake and not really leveraging that regenerative system, you truly can putt around town in majority electric, which is really, really nice. Again, it creates for a super quiet ride, which are all things that I really, really enjoy. But the other thing that we aren't using, this car's in normal mode. It's not in an eco mode. Right? And you'll see us sort of teleporting around here. That's because I was in the car for over an hour doing this 20-mile loop in hopes that I could sort of gather this information with you guys. And if I tried to condense all of that into a 10-minute video, we got to jump around. So again, we are in normal mode. We are not leveraging eco mode, so your MPG would likely improve if you used eco mode. Your MPG would likely improve if you used EV Coach. These are all steps that you could take to improve your efficiency. But last but not least, I want to touch on, again, the temperature. Electric or electric-assisted vehicles do not like the cold. Your range on a pure electric vehicle gets almost cut in half in cold weather, and that same trend plays true with hybrid vehicles. So we'll try this test again in a couple months when it's nicer, or in New England, it could just be tomorrow. But we'll try it again to see how much of an impact. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up is that, this is what I'm expecting to be the worst MPG number that you'll see in your Maverick around town. So, with the rules and all of that jazz out of the way, how is the Maverick to drive around town and in a city sort of environment? I gotta say, guys, this is really where this thing was meant to be driven. It is very easy to maneuver. The cabin here in the Lariat luxury package is very quiet, especially because if you drive it like a normal human being, you stay in electric mode quite often, which means it's a very quiet place to be. And because we have the Lariat luxury package rocking that Bang & Olufsen sound system, we're able to really enjoy our tunes, our podcast, our morning news, whatever it is you intake on your commute to work, you'll be able to enjoy because your car's in EV mode most of the time, so the engine's not making any noise. All of that is really, really, really nice. In addition to that, the cabin maintains a good temperature. This was something that a lot of folks had a question to, and it does a good job. Now, what I will say is if I turned off the heat, it would get cold in here very quickly. This isn't a luxury vehicle in the sense that it maintains the temperature inside for a little bit after you turn it off. No. This car would get cold very quickly if the heat wasn't on, but with the heat on, it is a nice, pleasant place to be. In addition to that, the heated steering wheel is also super nice, helps keep the hands warm, especially myself. Poor circulation. I don't know what it is. My hands just get super cold. So I love the fact that I can have a heated steering wheel at this $32,000 price point. So overall, guys, this Maverick Hybrid is a great place to be around town. If you watched my full review on this vehicle, you know my extended thoughts, but that's not why we're here. The reason why we're here is to understand how this did around town in the loop test. So let's crunch some numbers and see how she did.
All right, folks, we made it. It's time to do some math. Now, the Ford Maverick's internal systems reports that we received this for our overall MPG. Now, a couple things that I want you guys to note is the electric miles on here. That's a lot of electric miles for this hybrid to do in this 20.2 mile drive, but that's the internal computer. Let's get down to the facts, the brass tacks, the whatever you want to call it, and let's do the math for ourselves. So we're going to open up our handy dandy calculator here. We went 20.2 miles. Bang. Divide by the actual gallons filled up, which, sorry, by the way, my camera cut out, but it was 0.436. Bang. Equals, bang, 46.33 MPG. Now, I know a couple things that you guys might be thinking. Number one, whoa, the Ford computer overshot by a pretty dramatic margin, and that is true. We weren't close to that 54 MPG number that the Ford Maverick Hybrid was saying we were able to get. Now, why that's the case, not so sure. We're going to try this test in a warmer time period, which, you know, in New England could be tomorrow, could be a week from tomorrow, could be 2 months from tomorrow, who knows, but we're definitely going to try this test again in better climate, because that could be the reason why we saw such a disparity. Number two, again, that climate means that this is probably going to be the worst MPG we would ever see around town. Any sort of electric assisted vehicle struggles in colder climate, and that was the case here. But one of the things that I do want to note is that this exceeds what Ford rates the Maverick Hybrid to get, which is right around 42 MPG. So overall, I'm pleased. 46 miles to the gallon is an astounding number, especially when you think about the fact that we probably would have gotten around 23, 24 MPG if we were using an EcoBoost all-wheel drive. So 20 MPG improvement is pretty substantial. And again, especially when you remember that that's probably the lowest MPG we will ever see in an around town setting. I am Thanasi. This is Money Shift. We will see you next time. Goodbye.